So today I'm in Ireland, here working on a project, and of course it's beautifully covered in snow. And so instead of going after something kind of crazy, incredible, I'm just making the most of the conditions that are out and about. You know, we've got easily kind of like 30 odd centimeters of snow here. It's fantastic. So instead of like going off and looking for something rare or amazing, I'm just getting out in the local area, photographing the starlings and things like that on the rooftops to make some nice winter images that you just don't get the chance to make that often. Today I'm also, getting to put the D850 for a proper test. You know, I've tried it out, I've used it a couple of times. And I've got some nice pictures with it, but I've never got to really push it. And today, with the weather like it is, it's going to be absolutely perfect chance to do that. And also trying out a new camera that you're watching me on as a new vlogging camera to see how it works. I've tried to find something that's going to be not shaky, have good stabilization, but also offer me the chance to have something really small that I can just have in my pocket. So fingers crossed, the quality will look quite nice. And this will be the new camera moving on. But right, with all the starlings, redwings, fieldfares moving through and the incredible conditions, I'm going to crack on shooting some pictures, because how often do you get to see snow like this in the UK, Ireland and this part of Europe? So right, let's start making some frames. Now, one of the things I'm looking to do is find a wintry angle. So sometimes the camera situated like this, it's a reasonable picture of a starling, but nothing really wintry. So what I'm going to look for is an area where I can shoot over the top of a nice snowdrift like this to give me that more wintry feel. But I think I might have to go to the road lower than where I am, because this point isn't the best. Whilst I'm here, I will say gearing up is really important. I've kitted myself out, got my salopettes on, waterproof and warm, good down jacket to keep me insulated, because I'm probably going to be out here for 4, 5, 6 hours. But one of the most important thing, gloves. Now these are actually work gloves, your standard kind of builder's gloves. And the reason they're really good is because they're very thin and I can use all the controls of my camera while still, actually being able to wear a pair of gloves. It's really nice. And then I'm just sticking them back in my pockets. I've got insulating pockets here, just in case I get a bit chilly. And also, hooked up in here, I have a sneaky flask, because you never know when a coffee's really going to help you make the day. So that stays in my jacket and means I don't have to bring a bag with me, because I'm out in a pretty local area to where I'm living. So yeah, should be good. Right, let's get on and find a few more pictures. I mean, not that the snow's going anywhere. Now, I'm currently walking along the streets, basically looking for gardens that have bird feeders, because of course in conditions like this, bird feeders are the perfect place to find a load of birds, finding some free and easy food, and also, for me, perfect photographic pickings. Now I can see along here there is a good dumping of snow, and also quite a few starlings and other birds hanging around. So I'm pretty sure one of the gardens along here is going to have some bird feeders, and hopefully I might find some washing lines and stuff like that, all that make great images when you're out in the snow. Because as much as, yes, you could go try and find foxes or anything incredible, getting those really nice pictures of your local species is equally as fun and challenging when you're in conditions like this. A couple of bird feeders. Now, one of the problems I've got is that my lens is getting quite a bit of water on it. But luckily, one thing I've brought with me is my rocket blower. Now, the reason the rocket blower is so handy is because what you can do is take all that moisture off the lens without creating any smears. That's really quite perfect for helping you to keep shooting. Let's take that down. It's not perfect, but it's much better. Right. Starlings. That's what we're going after. To get started with the birds in the garden, I first wanted that classic shot of a starling out in the snow. And to do it simply, I just got down low behind the wall to give some snow in the foreground, using F4 to blur out the background and also render the snow into different levels of focus, getting that focus pin sharp on the eye, a thousandth of a second, and getting those shots off. I made a number of different pictures to make sure I got a couple that I was happy with, and this one really stood out to me. The snow is falling really nicely, got lots of different kind of size bokeh balls of snow, just a really simple, perfect shot of a starling out in the snow. The next image was something a little bit different and a bit of a happy accident, to be honest. I was framing up for starlings coming in overhead, and I caught my focus on the snow. Looking at it through the viewfinder, I thought that maybe that was a bit more of a different image, so instead focused on the snow with the silhouette of the bird to make a different starling shot that maybe is something a little bit abstract from the norm. The final one from the garden, and probably my favourite shot of the whole day, was of a starling sat on a washing line. The snow came really heavy for a couple of moments, giving me just a fraction of a moment to frame up and get the bird sat on the line. I composed it quite wide, didn't want to fill the frame to give me a lot of snow in the image, just for that kind of classic back garden bird, and to show that you really don't have to go far to make really nice images of wildlife. You can do it right in your back garden, or someone else's for that matter. Oh. I think what I'm going to do now is head back up the hill and see if I can get any kind of rooftop views with the starlings. You know, try and find them on some of the aerials and stuff like that, and on the little, you know, the chimney pots, and see what we've got. But there's a lot of birds moving around, so fingers crossed we'll find some good opportunities for pictures. But, you know, making sure that you get those really wintry images is what I'm after. Although these gulls are making some very nice shapes, and there's quite a lot of rooks about that could be some nice subjects, so I might have a go at photographing those quickly. After finishing up with the birds in the gardens, I wandered down onto the harbour to catch up with a couple of the gull species and the cormorants that were sat out on the harbour wall. Again, going for really simple compositions. I got down low behind the wall to give me some out of focus blurred snow in the foreground, focusing on the bird through a small gap to give really simple and clean compositions. A really nice way to frame up when you work in the snow, because it just makes that subtle tonal palette to really bring images together that have that really bitter cold feel. Moving back into the town, I headed up and out in the snow, just watching the starlings and the rooftops. I framed up a couple of different shots with a nice rook on a telegraph wire, a really simple and clean composition, before moving back to the starlings that were making their way between the wires and the aerials of the buildings, and just making some simple compositions of the birds out in the snow. You know, you don't have to go miles when you're working with snowy conditions. You just look for interesting compositions to show a bird in a habitat and to make the most of the wonderful snowfall that was coming down around me. Having finished up with the birds in the town, I wandered back and re-geared up and got out onto location to hopefully find something a little bit rarer. And sadly, nothing turned up, and you know, that's the way of wildlife photography. But after a couple of hours laying in the snow, I was absolutely frozen. However, it did give me a good chance to assess the D850. It is absolutely superb. The battery life's been brilliant. Autofocus hasn't missed a beat. And it really has performed well in even some of the worst conditions I could have thrown at it. You know, sitting out there with the camera, it was freezing cold, absolutely bitter, snow all over it, and it performed flawlessly. Well, you know, not the same can be said for me. I managed to get a bit of a nap waiting on location, but after a while I just had to head home. I couldn't feel my hands, but you know, with the snow still coming down, hopefully I'll be back on location for tomorrow for some more wildlife photography.